Hello, I'm Gwen Hill from Pine Ridge Baptist Church Sunday School Department Ladies Class, and we are studying today the 13th chapter of Revelation. John, the Apostle, wrote this under the direction of Jesus Christ, and it is a story, it is a recording of things that are, things that he has seen, the things that are, and the things that are to be. And we're in the are to be part. And we introduced to you yesterday, or the last time we met, we talked about who the woman was and who the dragon was in chapter 12. We found that the woman is the nation of Israel. And we found that the dragon, because John was very careful to make sure that we knew who the dragon was, because in verse 9 of 12, he says that great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who heads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. And then drop down to 10, he says, for the accuser of our brothers and sisters who accused him before our God day and night has been hurled down. So that dragon was Satan. Satan's name is Lucifer. And Satan and devil, accuser, dragon, all of those are descriptors of who Lucifer is, and many others that are all negative. We found out in chapter 12 that although Satan did not live in heaven any longer, he still had access. And he came before the Lord day and night to accuse God's people of not living like God wanted them to. God knows this. He didn't need Satan to do it, but what an irritant that would have been. And God, at this point in his judgment, has said, I have heard enough. I have had exposure enough. You have contaminated things enough. I want you out of heaven. So what he did is he enlisted his archangel Michael, and Satan had already turned a third of the angels, but that left Michael with 2/3 of the angels left. And Michael and his angels pushed Satan and his angels out of heaven, removed their access. They were hurled to earth. And that's where they're at now in 2024. And now heaven doesn't have Satan's presence ever in it anymore, and they are having a party. But we're warned. It says, look out, earth. Look out, earth. Because he is going to turn in rage. It's in chapter 12, verse 17. And I'm going to start reading there, and I'm going to read a few verses on into 13, and that's going to be our study today. It says, then the dragon was enraged at the woman, at Israel, and he went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commands and hold fast their testimony about Jesus. All Jewish Christians and all Gentile Christians are now his target. He cannot spew and hurt God in any way other than through his children now, and that's what he's going to do. He doesn't have, when you get very, very angry, someone would describe you as being furious. What is your thought processes at that moment? Are you able to be logical? Are you able to be fair? Are you able to be anything other than a blind, mean machine? Read now in 13. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, and had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like the lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. Okay, the dragon. Who's the dragon? Satan, right? Okay, So let's read it again. So Satan stood on the shore of the sea. Any time that the word sea is not qualified, such as the Dead Sea or the Galilean Sea or the Sea of Galilee, if they just use the word sea, it may have two meanings. You have to look at the context to see which meaning fits. If it could mean sea as in the Mediterranean Sea. It could mean an army. If you look in the Old Testament, sometimes when they were talking about army warriors coming, they called them a sea. There was a sea of warriors. So, it could be either one of those. And that's John, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. So he either saw a beast rising up out of the water, or he saw a leader coming up out of the Gentiles. Doesn't matter. Could be either one. It had 10 horns, symbolizing the 10 horns is powerful. It also stands in 7 heads. Okay, 7 heads. What did I say? Head stands for kingdoms. Kingdoms stand for heads. With 10 crowns on its horns. Remember, it had 10 horns. So each one of them would have had a crown. And on each head was a blasphemous name. Okay, if we go back and we go to Daniel and we look at Daniel, we saw that in Daniel's vision, he talked about empires that had taken the Israelites and abused them. And he counted from the Babylonian Empire forward because that's the empire he was in. And so he said, so the empires, the 7 heads, have been in the past the Assyrian Empire, the Egyptian Empire, and now these are the ones that Daniel begins counting: the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and the revised Roman Empire. Okay? So when we see 10 crowns on its horns, we're talking about 10 nations, powerful nations, and each head had 10 horns and 7 heads. The 7 heads are these 7 empires with 10 crowns on its horns. There's 7 empires, but the Greek empire, which was Alexander the Great, was broken apart, and it was ruled by 4, and so that would give them 3 more. That would make it 10. All right, and then each had a blasphemous name. They were all horrible. They were all horrible. And he's going to mention these again in a little while, and we're going to talk a whole lot about them. But the 10 horns represent 10 kings that will rise in power to reign during the tribulation. But we've been introduced to this entity in Daniel. So interpret one with the other. And he says, "A beast I saw resembled the leopard, and feet like those of a bear, and mouth like those of the lion." If you will go through and read those again, and he'll tell you in Daniel all of these animals and which empire they're associated with. And the dragon gave the beast his power. Now the dragon was Satan, and he gave the beast, this is the one that came up, I'm going to say Gentiles, okay? He comes up out of the Gentiles. Satan's going to give him his power, and he's going to give him his throne and great authority. Why would he do that? Because he's not omnipotent like our God is. He needs a helper. He has demons, sure, but he needs a physical entity to help him. And so he has chosen a man. And he's going to give him a lot of power. And we're going to read more about him and the power that he gave him. And he's going to give him great authority. Now, this does not actually mean, we think, in this vision, We think that this man who rose up, that's going to be Satan's number one helper, he's already been on the scene for 3.5 years. He's already been building influence. He has already been influential. He's the one that got the peace agreement signed that allows the Jews to live in peace and to build their temple. But he's not worldwide yet. At this point, Satan pulls him up. This is at the 3.5 year point. Remember? And pulls him up. And he says, all right, I'm going to give you more power. And I'm going to give you more influence. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And others makes this man think that he's like God. That's why he goes into the temple at this point. And the dragon gave the beast his power. Satan is not without power. He has a lot of power. He was, of all of God's creation, he was endowed the best. He had great authority, and he shares that authority with this person. And in verse 4, it's, we'll go back to 3. It says, one of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. Okay. If you'll go back to Daniel's list of the world governments, okay, on the beast, his vision of the beast, and those empires, some which were, which are, and are coming. Each one of these empires, when they exited, when they were out of the picture, the Assyrian Empire, when they left, some of the strongest things about the Assyrian lingered, and they were with the Egyptian Empire. Then the best part of the Egyptian Empire, some of the things that were beneficial to them, the Babylonian Empire kept. Then the Medo-Persians kept. The Greek Empire kept, and the Roman Empire kept. But you know what? When the Roman Empire was not taken over by another empire, it died from where? Died from within. So it didn't have anything to pass on to the next empire. There was no next empire. So it died. Rome died. The Roman Empire died. It didn't give anything to another empire coming on. It died. So it physically died. And that was the last empire to persecute the nation of Israel. And I'm talking about the nation of Israel. Yes, the people of Israel have been persecuted. Adolf Hitler did that, and Mussolini did that, and others did that. But they weren't empires. They were nationalities. They were peoples. And now there's one left to come, and that is the revived Roman Empire. That is the one that they're talking about. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshiped the dragon because he had given great authority to the beast. This man is going to revive the Roman Empire. And what's more, you're going to read a little bit later how he gives them all the best of all the empires from before, the things that they learned, the things that they did. It says, who is like the people worship the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. Satan had given authority to the beast. Who is the beast? The beast is the Antichrist. The beast is the Antichrist. And they worship the Antichrist, and they ask, who's like the Antichrist? Who can wage war against it? He has been really, really something. So now you know a little bit more about the Antichrist. Let's read just a little bit more, and then we will go on just a little bit more about the Antichrist. The beast, or the Antichrist, was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. All those names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with a sword they will be killed. This calls for patience, endurance, and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Things are going to get really, really bad. Things are going to get really, really bad. This beast, the Antichrist, is going to have such a gift of persuasion, such a gift that whatever he says is going to sound so reasonable, so perfect, so why hadn't we thought of this before? People are amazed and at wonder about his power of persuasion and his verbals. And he said people worship the dragon because they worship Satan, because he gave him this power. He says, who's like him? Who can win against the Antichrist? He has the answer to all of our problems. This man has got it, and we just got to follow him. He said was given proud words, wonderful words, words that tickled people's ears. It was what they wanted to hear. And when he began to blaspheme God, the Jews were taken aback. When he began to slander God's name, when he cursed heaven, his dwelling place, and the temple as well. All of this is happening at the same time. He's beginning to, this is taking you to right, his motivation when he is taking over the temple. The 2 witnesses have died. He's now got an open field. And as soon as he does the things that he begins to do, the Jews recognize who he is, and they run for it. And he's given power and authority. And it seems as if every inhabitant of earth is going to be worshiping the beast, the Antichrist. And his tentacles are going throughout the world now. Verse 9 and 10, whoever has ears, let him hear. This is a Hebrewism, and it's kind of like what will be, will be. He says if anyone is to go into captivity they will go. In other words, he is so persuasive that it is very difficult to pull them back. If anyone is to be killed with a sword, then with a sword he will be killed. What is to be, it will be. He said this calls for patient endurance. Verse 10. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. God's telling us it's going to be bad. You're going to feel all alone because the earth at large is going to be listening to this beast, this Antichrist, this very persuasive, articulate leader. And it's not for good. The earth is going to be horrid. Okay, so now we know who the woman is, who the child is, who's Lucifer, Satan is, and his motivation. And we're learning about the Antichrist. Read Daniel, all about the dream that he interpreted for Nebuchadnezzar. Then study Luke 21, verse 24, and Jesus is speaking. He talks about the fallen angels. And then think about the last kingdom to persecute Israel as a nation was Rome. And then Rome died. And Rome is going to be the one that's going to be revised. A lot of people will tell you that this is going to be a literal reviving of someone who was maybe shot in the head and came back to life. That may be. But in this instance, in the context that we're reading in right here, in this part, we're talking about the revival of the Roman Empire. Later, there is an instance where something dastardly happens, very similar to this. But in this instance, we're talking about Rome. The beast in Revelation is combining all the characteristics of the previous kingdoms into this one great kingdom. 6 of the heads represents previous kingdom. The 7th is the final kingdom, which will be the new revised. And then in Revelation 17, we're going to talk about another woman. It's not Israel. This woman is city, and the city is Rome. So, and that's why we're going to talk about the revised kingdom, empire of Rome, revised Roman Empire. So, when we come together again, we're going to be studying the beast out of the earth. And that will start in verse 11, and it will go to the start of 14. So I hope you have a good day and a good week. Goodbye.